Alright, back today with another video, and I'm super excited about today's topic because we're talking about Witch Hat Atelier, because just over 2 weeks ago it was announced that the anime adaptation will be coming in 2026, and we received a key visual and everything, and it looked great. I know the announcement for the anime it was given a while ago, and we've had a couple delays since that announcement came out, and a lot of that is because the staff really wanted to put their all into this project and give the adaptation the love and care it deserves to really elevate this story and bring it to life on our screens. And I just figured, I was sitting around, I was thinking, why not just make a quick little video about why I like the series so much, why it very quickly became one of my favorites, and why you should definitely check out the anime when it drops. And even if you're convinced, check out the manga beforehand, because I do think that the manga is 100% worth reading, and that is one of the best things out right now. And without further ado, let's get into it. The story focuses on Coco, who's our main character, and at the very beginning, she's the plain daughter of a dressmaker who really dreams of becoming a witch one day, but unfortunately for our girl, if you're not born a witch in this world, you can't become one, and her being the daughter of a tailor with no magical background or innate ability means that she is not able to become a witch, or so she thinks, because a lot of things are set in motion behind the scenes, and one thing leads to another, and effectively, Kiefer, who is a witch, ends up at the tailor shop that Coco and her mom live and work at, and one thing leads to another, and he has to fix a winged chariot and ends up using one of the rooms in the tailor shop to do so. However, unbeknownst to him, Coco watches him doing witchcraft, which, she sees him drawing the glyphs on pieces of paper and using it to fix the winged chariot. The thing is, Coco recognizes these glyphs from a child's book that she was given on the street by a guy when her mom and her went to see a festival in town one time. And later that night, Coco is recreating the glyphs, drawing as many things as she can, repetition, repetition, repetition. But one of the glyphs she draws works a little too well, and it turns her entire house and her mother to crystal. Unfortunately for her, this is illegal, and also the fact that she has discovered the big secret of the world, as Kiefer tells her when he arrives to save her just in time, that, hey, anyone can do magic, you just need some special ink, a pen, and some paper, and boom, you can do magic too. And that this whole world, as it is, currently hinges on this secret. And Kiefer's kind of like, well, I have to erase her memory because she can't know this, nobody can know this, we have to cover this up. But the thing is that Coco mentions the picture book, and Kiefer, having ties to the individual who gave Coco that picture book, is convinced that, okay, well, if I erase her memory, I'm going to lose my only lead and my only ability to track this person down. So instead, he brings her to his atelier and ends up training her with his other students to become a witch. And the story basically follows Coco's adventures along with the other students and other characters as they kind of like go through the magical world, learn what it is to like be a witch, and also as this sinister plot set in motion kind of just unfolds around them, especially Coco. Because the thing about witches in this series is that there are two factions of witches. The first being the pointed hats, and the second being the brim hats. The pointed hats uphold the current world order that keeps magic secret from the general public, and the brim hats want to effectively set magic free. However, they're not the best people. They will do a lot of things to people to accomplish this goal, but the brim hats essentially see Coco as a promised child of sorts, whose creativity and ability will just kind of set events in motion that will set magic free and that will restore the previous world order under which everyone could do magic and everyone knew this. And it is a very interesting thing watching these play out and watching Coco being pulled in both these directions, because both of these factions do honestly have a point, because the reason this world order exists is because there was a conflict between witches for several reasons, and it resulted in a lot of destruction, and the pointed hats ended up winning out, and we're like, in order to avoid that destruction, we need to control magic heavily. However, unfortunately, that results in erasing people's memories, monitoring everything, not necessarily doing the best you can to help people all the time, because it gets difficult trying to keep magic secret if you're doing a lot of things. The Brim Hats, on the other hand, do believe in a lot of things that probably would be very beneficial to people. However, they are a bit farther than that. There's body modification, a lot of things going on. But yeah, it is a very interesting premise for a story, and that alone was enough to really hook me in. Like chapter 1, I was hooked. Like that first twist, and there are more after that, was phenomenal. I loved it. And I think next, yeah, I just will get into some like the other things I love about the series. A lot of themes in the story on top of like the mystery aspects that I think a lot of people will resonate with and that'll keep people hooked because they have for sure kept me hooked over these years. The first of which being that I think the pointed hat and brim hat conflict is a perfect stand-in for institutional oversight and the dangers of that because Shirahama has done a great job of writing her two factions in a way that they both have very valid points about magic and the way the world is. However, they both go about it in a way that's quite frankly quite wrong. So you have the Pointed Hats, for example, who went out in the previous conflict and who established the current world government and how things are run. And they're very concerned about safety, as they should be, because leading up to that conflict and during the conflict, a lot of people lost their lives due to magic, and a lot of people had terrible things done to them because of magic. So they're very concerned with how witches do magic, how magic is controlled, to the point where they've just outright banned certain spells, which again, not inherently wrong, but it does kind of really put a hamper on how witches do things to the point where it is so illegal. Forbidden magic is so illegal to the point that if something is done to you that is forbidden, you cannot live in normal society. Like there's a character who has had something done to him who now has to live in the wilderness with another character because he can't live under the pointed hat system because he's illegal. He is physically he's being what was done to his body. He is physically illegal. And witches have to practice magic in a very specific way, and that stifles their individuality and what they can do. And it's just not a great system for them. And then obviously you have the people who can't do magic or who don't know they can do magic. And in this world, witches help out with a lot of things. Witches help out with natural disasters. Witches help out with fixing things. So if you're doing something that only a witch can do, you have to sit there and wait, and maybe that costs you time. Maybe that costs someone their life. Maybe you can't fight off bandits or something. Either way, it's not a great system because people, their lives are actively inconvenienced by this omission of information of what they can do. And then if they find out what they can do, the pointed hats erase their memory, which is just it's a really just interesting kind of like paradigm there, a really kind of like interesting situation the pointed hats have set up where they're so concerned about magic to the point where they're willing to exercise control over people's memories and have these people living in a cage without knowing they're living in a cage. And then you have the Brim Hats. The Brim Hats want magic to be free, and that means that anyone can do magic how they like. There's full expression of individuality. There are characters in the Brim Hats who, for example, have had injuries that have left them with disabilities, and they've used magic to kind of develop like ways of assisting themselves in the way they desire. And there are characters in the Pointed Hats who have done similar things, but in the Brim Hats, it's typically through bodily modification, which is illegal. And that's not inherently a bad thing, I don't think. Like that's something that it can be bad, but it's not always bad. That being said, a lot of the Brim Hats are characters who are very much ends justify the means, in the sense that they are willing to do anything to make magic free, and that means using people who don't know about magic or people who are pointed hats as pawns and effectively leaving them in a state where their lives are in danger to the point where like a lot of people might lose their lives. And they also, quite frankly, I don't believe have kind of an idea for what kind of system they want to set up afterwards. They just want everyone to be able to do magic. They want magic to be free. They want just uninhibited magic usage, which, as we've kind of like established from what happened previously, not exactly the best way of going about things. So it's just a very interesting kind of like dynamic between the two factions, and I really enjoy the push and pull that establishes within Coco, because as someone who was born an outsider and who has seen what the world's like without magic and is now experiencing the world with magic for the first time, she's being pulled in both directions, and I really am interested in seeing where that takes her later on in the series. The next thing I think a lot of people really like and resonate with is the teamwork aspect, and I feel like how the series really establishes that you need other people to get to get along in life, to get far, to get where you want to go, to have people have people looking out for you so you can be the best version of yourself. And I feel like my favorite character I got who quite frankly, the girl wants to live up to her family name, I guess, and she just kind of really really puts this heavy weight on her shoulders of just living up to this weight. And when Coco shows up, she hates her to the point where she sends her through a portal, and quite frankly could have gotten Coco killed. But the two of them have developed quite a very close relationship with each other, and it's at the point where I think Agate's spells her glyphs are better than they would have been if Coco wasn't there. She has more creativity than she would have had otherwise. and you add that to her innate kind of analytical and thoroughness, and boom, she is much better off than she would have been without Coco there. And Coco is that change agent for a lot of characters, and it's kind of great seeing them all lift each other up and push each other forward and push each other to like come up with these new ideas, and especially the youth, because the younger characters are all kind of children or child age, so they have that level of imagination that um, the Pointed Hat system hasn't exactly like grinded out of them. That some of the adult characters are kind of like more like, I would say, less creative, quite frankly. So it's kind of like these characters have their own individual way of drawing glyphs, their own individual ways of thinking about them, and the adults have it, but the kids are just so vastly different from each other that it's so interesting to look at. And it'll be really fun, kind of like seeing people like pick which of these kids that they like the most, and which ones they resonate with, because I feel like they're a lot of them relate to different people's childhood experiences, I feel like. So it'll be really fun watching people kind of like pick through that and experience that for the first time. The aspect of this series is the magic system. So as I was talking about, Coco saw Kiefer drawing glyphs and then recognized the glyphs herself, and kind of started drawing them and kind of experimenting with the glyphs from memory. And I think this is such an interesting way of doing magic, in that it is a way that also governs the way the entire world works, in the sense that it's something that can effectively be kept secret. Because in a lot of series, it's like, okay, well, we know about magic, and it is very much like like it's something people can or can't do, or it's like, oh, everyone has some sort of magic that they can do, and there's varying levels to it. But this one is like, okay, yeah, everyone has magic they can do, but it's not something that would be common knowledge or that is based in like mana or anything. It is really based on having the proper ink, knowing the glyphs, and being able to draw, and also the creativity of the person drawing. And I think that is just, it is so great, and it's very detailed. It's a hard magic system for sure. In the sense that glyphs have to be drawn a very specific way, and they have specific effects when they're drawn. And for example, like there are boots that allow people to propel themselves through the air, and they'll have half the glyph drawn on each boot, and then when they click their feet together, they'll like shoot off, and it's just such a great. It's just a great system. I don't know. There's nothing to like hate about it. It's wonderful. I enjoy it. I enjoy seeing kind of like the ingenuity that, especially Coco, because Coco, being the daughter of a tailor, one of her great strengths is one, attention to detail, but also just ingenuitive thought, both being in like an outsider and then also being someone who is the daughter of a tailor, and putting together glyphs or like coming up with ideas that are like, oh, we could do this with this, and people are like, and like at the start she isn't super great with it, so like sometimes other people might have to draw, and like she like learns and gets better at drawing things and gets better at putting the glyphs together. But her ingenuity is really one of the interesting parts, and it makes the magic system feel so lived in, because every single character has their own touch to how they make glyphs, and it's just so fun to read, and it will eventually be so fun to watch. And I know people will enjoy this, and I know people will love this system, and I think it will catch people's eye as one of the best parts of the series, and also as something that sets the series apart from a lot of other things as well. Really big strength of this series that I think people will really love is the representation. There are not many series that I think are on par with Witch Hat Atelier when it comes to representation. There are characters of all different genders, of different racial features, who have disabilities, who are LGBTQ, who are all represented in this story so naturally and so intentionally, to the point where it makes the world feel more alive to me, and I really enjoy seeing that aspect. It's just like, you're just scrolling the page, you're like, oh wow, like so and so's got a husband, or like, oh, look at like her like like the girl's Afro puffs or whatever. It's really nice. It's like, it's really great to like just just go through pages and see yourself or like other people represented, and have the world feel like everyone's there and everyone has a space in it. And again, yeah, Sherham has done a really good job of like integrating people, and the series also even addresses some heavier topics that do with things like gender, for example. And it is really great. It's really nice to like see that, and see the kind of like care taken with those subjects, because there are other series that try sometimes, but I feel like sometimes trying is not the same thing as doing it well. And in my opinion, Shirham has done nothing but do it well so far. And yeah, I think people will really enjoy seeing that, and also seeing the diverse character designs as well, in terms of their outfits, in terms of, again, different features. and whatnot. But yeah, it just feels very natural to have everyone there. It feels very great to have everyone represented, and to have them just all be present and not just like have it be, I guess, just something that is their defining feature. You know what I mean? Like it is a part of who they are, but it isn't like all that they are. And I think that's a really great kind of like aspect for this series. I really enjoy seeing that, and I think other people will enjoy that as well. The last thing that I want to address is the art style. This is Shiraham is the goddess of the pen. Like this, sometimes a lot of the spreads that she puts into this series, I'm like, how did you even think of that? How did that get into your mind to draw that on the page? And the art's very consistent. It's amazing. There's so much detail in the character designs and the environments, but those like double page spreads are just, there's a lot of them that are, quite frankly, I would throw them up on the screen, but I do feel like you almost have to read the manga in real time, and like flip to that page and see it for yourself to just experience it, because I wouldn't want to rob anyone of that just like showing it on the screen. But yes, the art styles are so detailed. It's just one of the greatest things, I think. Yeah, it's one of the prettiest manga to read, and I really hope that the anime is able to capture that and that it ends up being one of the prettiest anime to watch. I really hope that is something that the staff is taking into account, because it is a very big part of a lot of people's enjoyment for the series. Is just how thorough, how just beautiful the art is, how beautiful the world is. And yeah, I just feel like there's just a profound appreciation for art in the series, and I really enjoy that. And it's something that I think a lot of other people will enjoy if they pick up the manga, and hopefully that will be represented well in the anime coming up. That's everything I have for now. I feel like this video is almost too short for what Witch Hat Atelier deserves, because it really is a phenomenal series. It touches on so much, about morality, about what it means to work together, about having different people living in the world, and like being natural in their existence. There is so much to talk about in this series that I feel like I, quite frankly, could talk about it for longer. But just to keep this kind of short and tell people like a few things I love about it and try and get them to read it, or be ready to watch it when it comes out, I think this is enough. So yeah, definitely check it out. Read the manga beforehand if you would like, but also the anime is coming next year, so be prepared for that. Be prepared for greatness. I do think that it will, if done properly, be an anime of the year contender, so definitely keep your eyes on it. And yeah, I hope to see you back on my channel soon, and thank you for watching.